Hi everyone, it's Sarah from the Support Worker Store. Tonight I have Brett. I'm so excited to have you, Brett, because you and I have been dancing online together, but we actually haven't met in the flesh. So we get to talk about all the things that you're doing in your business. Let's get cracking. Tell me, what are we up to? Where are we at? You've got a business. So let's go back to the beginning. What made you get into support work for the first time?
Well, I've been in the industry for 19 years. I've got family members who were undiagnosed back in the day. My uncle had a learning delay of some degree. My little brother was undiagnosed ADHD, and I went through a rough patch as a teenager. So I watched my little brother get run over by a school bus, and had a lot of help from church pastors, school counselors, teachers, friends, anybody who'd talk to me, which was everybody.
Yeah.
And I figured the only way I could say thanks to them is to pay it forward and help someone else out. My little brother was the type of person who, although he was, 11 at the time, he was the type of kid who would cross the road to help someone in need or help them cross the road. He'd go out of his way to help someone.
Yeah.
Where most kids at that age, head down, I'll keep to myself and just do what I need to do, go and disregard everybody else. So I guess it's kind of taking on that a little bit in that, I'm helping other people knowing that he would do the same.
Yeah. Like a pay it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're also a dad of kids as well. So is this the type of skills that you teach your kids?
I
Or
am.
you raise them? Sorry, I'm so off track, but I'm very curious.
I try to. Those 19 years experience have come in handy. Just one, because I've got two kids, and two, because one of those has a disability herself. So it's almost like I've come full circle. I've gone, growing up with siblings and family members who had a disability, and now I've got a daughter who's got a disability as well.
Yeah.
And all that 19 years experience has taught me, what I need to know at this stage, how to help her
Yeah.
and also my oldest daughter, of helping her with her being a kid.
Yeah. And then it's quite a lot to take on as a kid because then, and as you progress as an adult, because you've also got that underlying, it's trauma to see something like that and see your brother being run over and yeah, managing that I
Yeah.
would say would be incredibly difficult.
It's good though, because, yeah. 3 years ago, roughly, I was sitting at the table doing work. And there was a storm coming in. It was my youngest daughter's now 5. And it was probably her first or second storm.
Yeah.
And she's, didn't know how to react to a storm. She was scared. She's covering her ears, which a normal, a 2-year-old would do. My oldest daughter knelt down on the floor with her, held her hands, and led her through a breathing exercise.
Yeah.
Like that's, teaching the oldest one to work through her difficulties and
Yeah.
through a breathing exercise. But if she can teach another kid to do it herself,
Yeah.
then that's my 19 years experience going straight through to her in a positive way.
Yeah. You would have sat there and went, what? Okay, I'm not required now. You've got this. You've got the reins. You've got this, babe.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool skill set.
I should have taken a photo of it, but I didn't.
I think because that's the thing. It's up here. Sometimes photos take away the actual memory that you have, and you're repeating the story. That's the coolest part. So from all this, if I go back to your 19 years, you have worked in a community care sector. What do you remember most from those early days as a support worker?
Overwhelm. There were days where high behaviors, high medical needs. I had to work out pretty quickly, how can I look after my mental health today, this afternoon,
Yep.
so that I can return to the same setting with the same staff, same environment, same participant, and provide them the high quality care that they deserve.
Yeah.
And I was only, 19, 20 at the time.
Yeah. I would.
So, you learn really quickly how to do that.
It's like a baptism of fire, isn't it? Because when you're so young, you're like, whoa, I was talking to somebody the other day about the very first time that I worked in a day service and walking through the doors and I just being hit with being overwhelmed, like what do I do next? There's so many people and I'm terrible in a crowd to be honest with you. Like I'm somebody that would get lost in it. I'm not somebody that wants to be in the thick of a crowd. So my very first experience of working in disability I found quite overwhelming, to be honest, to be upfront.
Yeah, it is. It is overwhelming. You've got, like in my situation, as I said, I was 19, 20. I was in a day program myself. You'd have, adults who are 30s and 40s screaming and, being very vocal. You've got one guy he obsessed over one scene out of The Lion King. So it was fast forward, rewind, fast forward, rewind, fast forward, rewind. That was his day if you'd let him. That same guy would simply sign naughty twice
Yeah.
and put his head through a window. He headbutted the service manager and broke her ribs. She took weeks off work because of the injury. This is something I'd never experienced before. And yet I'm walking in as this, fresh-faced kid going, what the hell have I got myself into?
Yeah.
And the support workers that I was working with didn't help either. They were bickering amongst themselves. You've got
Yeah.
the team that really split into two halves, and it was us against them. And I'm in the middle going, I don't want to be part of this. And both sides are going, come on, come to this side. We'll give you the easy shift. We'll look after you. And I'm like, no, I'm here to do a job.
Yeah.
Leave your politics out of it.
Yeah. I remember when I first started, in the disability sector and I got to my second placement, I I was 20 and the next person in the age bracket was 40. So then you've got like these 20 years and you're trying to work as a young person, trying to work in this sector and you see things differently with different lenses. When you're young and funky and you're fresh and all that stuff, and you're walking into a sector sometimes that has been with much older ages, and I can see now, like if I look and I reflect how our sector has grown and developed itself, it's much more appealing for young people to enter than ever before. I don't know if you've seen that, but I've totally had like felt that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, but there are some things too that the younger generations can learn from the older ones in
Oh,
that, because I'm a behavior support practitioner. And I was in a SIL house 2-3 years ago doing behavioral observations of this client. And there were two support workers sitting in the lounge on their phones watching TV. You've got 3-4 participants roaming their house unsupervised. And you've got these support workers in the lounge on their phones. Where's the support that you're meant to be providing to these participants?
does that kill you being an ex-support worker and seeing that? Because I know it kills me.
Yeah.
It eats
Yeah.
me up.
If that was me, I would have gotten my butt kicked.
It's
And the worst part was I'm not attached to that service. So
Yeah.
I was an external provider and you're still sitting there doing that in front of someone else that you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to think that I was talking to somebody the other night that at times I feel like the support worker expectations have been lowered, like what was expected. Because I know as a support worker, if there was a problem, like if there was a communication aid, we'd just make it. We'd just do it, we'd make it. We would never wait for anyone. Where now it feels like, well, I have to wait for this person to do this assessment, to talk to this person, when really we just got our shit done. It's the best way, we cracked on and moved on from it.
Yeah.
So what was your click moment as a support worker? Did you have like a click moment when you were working with somebody like, wow, I have arrived to my sector, I have found my profession, I know I want to be here?
Not that I can pinpoint. It was probably a multitude of different things, not rather than one big
Yeah.
light switch coming on. It was multiple things along the way. One thing probably not the first place I worked, but the second or third, it was like in these situations when you've got high emotions, high behaviors, high medical needs, I've got the ability to stay calm in that situation and delegate and move those away that can't cope with that situation.
Yeah.
Like there was one time I was working for a day program in northern Sydney. We took a group of participants to Homebush to watch the V8 supercars when they raced around Homebush.
What a horrible opportunity.
The day was
It was fantastic.
It was, like there was a car rollover in front of us and we got given a couple of car parts and we got, sweet, let's go. The day was fine. Like everything went to plan until we left. We had to go from Olympic Park Station back to Strathfield, change platforms and then head on where we had to go. So there was 11 of us, 4 participants in wheelchairs,
Yep.
4 support workers. So 3 mobile clients, 4 in wheelchairs and 4 staff. We all got in the lift at Strathfield Station because they're, big lifts, 12 inches from the bottom, so say 30 centimetres from the bottom. The lift stopped with
Yep.
all 11 of us in the lift.
Yep.
It stopped. We're stuck in there.
Yep.
In that situation, it was, hey, grab your phone out. Let's start playing some music. We've got a 2 liter bucket of ice cold cordial. Let's pass drinks around. Let's, make this fun. Let's make it into a dance party. You three staff look after those. I'll talk to the station manager outside on the phone and just say, hey, we're okay in here. There's no need to stress. The station manager was getting a bit anxious and, because he glass front lift, you could see that there's 4 wheelchairs in there. And I'm like, no, we're okay. It's, stop stressing.
Yeah.
We then got off, out of the lift. They called the fire brigade and they got us out. We then had to change trains and they said, look, the next train's not great. The one after that's an air-conditioned train, so jump on there. Heading back towards the day program, and about 4 stops short, one of the participants has a seizure on a 19-year-old support worker's lap.
Yep.
Like everything that could go wrong did go wrong on that day.
Yep.
And it was like, hang on, I can delegate and I can, use your skills. If you can't control your emotions or, because you're young or inexperienced or whatever, I can help use you to use your skills so I can manage the situation. It was kind of like that.
Okay. So you transitioned from being a support worker to being a behavior support practitioner. What made you decide to take the jump?
One of it was I'm a social worker and I had been a social worker while being a support worker. And I figured, well, I've done what was a 4-year degree in 7.5. I may as well use what I learnt to progress my career. And the other part of it was some of the staff I was working with said to me, hey, you're really good at managing behaviors. You're really good at, remaining calm.
Yeah.
And it was almost as if I had unofficially stepped up to being team leader because we were in a bit of a weird situation with that company. Like we had one new participant come in and he had an epilepsy management plan. And it was, here's the epilepsy management plan. This guy will be here in a couple of hours' time. You've got to read it. And the other support worker said to me, look, you read it because you can retain it and we'll just ask you questions. And that worked well. Like we worked really well as a team. Like there was one participant who was, mobile. He could make his own cup of coffee. And he was in the day program making his cup of coffee and something wasn't right. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something wasn't quite right. And the other staff were leaving and I was staying back at the day program with a couple of participants. And I'm just standing there, watching what's going on. And one of the other support workers looks at me and goes, is everything all right? I said, no, he's about to have a seizure. And he did. He had a seizure while making a cup of coffee. Now, I was able to somehow recognize something wasn't quite right. I grabbed the kettle that had just boiled, moved that aside and turned around. And as I turned around, the seizure started. He fell to the floor.
Yeah.
But because I'd notified that other support worker that something wasn't right, she's moved closer and she's caught him on the way down.
Yeah.
So it's just, the teamwork of something's not quite right, but let's, work it out. I've got no idea what it was. I just felt something wasn't quite right in that situation.
I was, yes, interesting fact. All right. I believe, Sarah. Okay. So dyslexic as hell, right? I'm really good with body language. I am so fantastic at picking body language of somebody. And that's from training because language and reading was my last, defense. And I'd do everything I possibly could so I didn't have to read. So I learnt body language really well. Do you believe that it was the body language you picked up on the person or was it something else or like just a trigger for you?
Not sure. It probably was body language a little bit. Like he wasn't behaving quote unquote normal. He would normally engage in conversation while making a coffee a little bit. He was more focused on the coffee than the conversation. There just wasn't that verbal interaction. Like I was trying to talk to him and get his attention and he's like focused on this. So that might have been the body language.
Oh, so there's pattern recognition.
An emotional IQ test that you can do. Yeah. And there's an emotional IQ test that you can do. And I did it years ago and I scored higher than my actual IQ, which granted isn't high, but still, being able to read body languages and pick up on those little nuances that you're talking about. It's a skill that we all have and we can learn that as well. There's not a matter of, I can't do that. It's, find other ways to learn that. For me, I'm colorblind.
Yep.
And I used to do shifts in FACS group homes back when FACS had the houses. And I went to the team leader and said, look, because they use the 7-day dose color-coded Webster packs. And I said, look, I'm colorblind and the medication cupboard is quite dark. I may not be able to tell them apart. And she went, okay, how can we solve this? what can you do to work around the fact that you may not get the medication right? And she gave me money out of petty cash, and I went and got some electrical tape, and there's wrapped electrical tape around the frames that the Webster packs were on. It was just a matter of, yes, I am colorblind, but what else can I do
Yep.
so that I'm not putting others at risk as a result of that?
Yeah.
Like finding workarounds.
So I just want to go back one thing because I have had a lot of conversations on this, and I would love to take your take as a behavior practitioner. Every now and again, I will hear the words, there was no trigger. And I believe I'm putting my foot down and say that that's a pip. Yes, well, good. We agree. There's always one, we've just missed it. We've missed the boat somewhere. There was a point, there was a moment, but we've missed the boat and we haven't seen it because nothing just appears or happens out of nowhere. Oh, yeah. How do you work around that when people tell you that
But
as
also
a
too, like it's a there you look at the diagnoses. Some diagnoses like autism, like ASD.
yeah,
They're saying it can be a delayed reaction between the event that triggered the behavior and then processing internally what's happened. The trigger might have been 2 days ago,
yeah,
but they've only just processed that time now, and now they're reacting to it. And you think, shit, what happened? Like you're sitting there on the lounge watching TV,
yeah.
all of a sudden you're yelling, you're throwing things. What happened? And I didn't see the trigger. That's because the trigger was 2 days ago. We're just like that participant's just processed it now.
But you would notice the person processing, to be fair. Like, I honestly, and the reason why I say that I have worked with
Sometimes.
a complex individuals with quite complex behavior support plans in play back in the heydays when before behavior practitioners, support workers used to write them. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But this is how old you and I are. Many decades ago, once upon a time,
Hey, settle.
there was this thing called a wheel. No, I remember working with some guy many, 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 many moons ago, and with one of the behaviors that he had is that I knew that when he was sitting and I could see that he was processing, and then I knew when his eyes flickered up that it was go time. Like for him, he was right,
Mm-hmm.
bang, bang, bang. And
Yeah.
it was such a, it's crazy to talk about, but it's such a flick that eye up that it could be really missed. And that's when you started to see him move, like behavior wise, into his next phase of escalation, and to be able to get to it beforehand and, without creating, an environment that was uncomfortable for him.
Yeah. And this is why, I find it easy to, when I'm doing behavior support, to go into SILS or to a day program and talk to support workers because that's me. I lived it for 15 years. I was doing some training a couple of years ago on a behavior support plan, and I had 25, 30 support workers, and they're all arms folded, leaning back in the chair, like really closed body language. And I looked around the room, and before I started, I said, look, I'm not here to tell you how to do your job. You know how to do your job. What I'm here to do is help everybody understand what's going on for this participant and to hear from you. If I've got this wrong, tell me.
Yeah.
I'm not the person who knows it all. So this is a collaborative approach. And just having that conversation, you can see the arms relax, the body language become open. And what was booked for an hour conversation was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it's talking to support workers and going, hey, in this situation, what do you notice? Because we're all going to notice different things because we control the environment different.
Yep.
What do you notice? What do you notice? Okay, let's put that in a plan. So anybody who walks in and go, okay, if I notice this, this, and this, the result is this behavior.
And you know what's also wild? When you create these plans, they're meant to be living documents. It's not something that you create, you set and forget, and it's in concrete because people grow and adapt. There's this element was like, well, it was in the plan. I said, yes, I understand. Let's look at that plan again. You can consistently review it because the person that you are 2 years ago doesn't necessarily mean that the plan that was created for now reflects that person because people grow and they change. The person that Sarah was in her 20s was completely different to Sarah in her 30s. And, different things for different people. How often would you recommend reviewing a behavior support plan?
Behavior support plans must be reviewed every 12 months. It's legislated.
And when it comes
to... So you've got that 12-month period. At the end of the 12-month period, it must be reviewed. But then also, too, you've got other triggers that can, trigger a review. It's a change in medication, a change in environment, a change in situation, a participant, like a housemate's moved out, you've got a new housemate move in. the environment's changed. So therefore the triggers may change, the behavior may change.
So how
So it's not just a matter of, I'll wait until 12 months time when it's due for renew. Let's look at it as we change along, because medications can influence behavior.
you know what I
A new
find
medication might elicit a different behavior.
I find it really wild when we have these conversations about supporting somebody with complex behavior, that it's a closed conversation, that it's actually quite collaborative, because the information that you get from support workers help you deep dive into a plan and create a plan that best reflects a person. Is there such thing as writing too much on these from a support worker? Or is this the type of stuff that you love to see because the
Yes.
attention to detail is what you're looking for?
So the documents that I get from support workers in terms of, ABC charts, incident reports, can you write too much? No. Can us as practitioners write too much? Yes. I've seen a behavior support plan that was 125 pages long. That plan was used to literally hold the office door open. No
Yep.
support worker had time to sit down and read it.
Yep.
No support worker had a need to sit down and read it. And that's why. So back when I started, only psychologists could do behavior support.
Yep.
And a lot of them would walk in and go, here's the behavior support plan, see you in 12 months.
No,
But-
I've never seen that.
Oh, okay.
No, I
But
haven't.
no, it was, all you've done is read the incident. All you've done is read the incident reports. Like, you've done a desktop review of the behaviors. You've not spoken to support workers. You've not met and sat with the client. You've not spoken to, everyone that is providing support.
Yep.
And that's why as a support worker who's become behavior support, I find it easy to have that conversation, because there was one time where I had an elderly gentleman who, mid-60s, and I spoke. So he moved out of one of the large residential facilities like Stockton or Morisset or, whatever.
Yep.
And the support worker was one of the staff members who left that facility and moved to the new company. And I spoke with her for an hour and a half, and she's given me, great history. She's given me, the signs that you would go, okay, he's in this phase. I then, put all that in the behavior support plan, sat down with the rest of the team, and they're like, no, that's not right. That's not accurate.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, so here's the assessments that I did with this one support worker. The whole team now has to do it. And I got the whole team to do this one assessment. I then averaged out each of those results, and the average was exactly the same as this experienced support worker told me.
Were you expecting that though?
So they're saying, no, she doesn't know him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the support workers who were arguing with me had only worked with this guy for 6 months, where this other support worker had worked with him for 15 years.
Yep.
You pick up on these things like that body language and everything else. And she said to me that, a lot of them would argue with me about it. So I was prepared. I walked into this training with 25 assessments printed out. Here you go away and do it.
It sometimes when you're doing the behavior support plans and getting people involved, it can be really fiery. And it really doesn't need to be, because really, you can debate it out. You can talk about, well, actually, I've experienced it. And it's the more information that you get and you can collate that gives you that whole life picture of one individual. And sometimes I feel like we miss that because we're too busy fine-tuning what we believe, when really it's what we can see as a collective, because we've got different eyes and different approaches of how to work with different individuals. Some people, when it comes to it, work better with others, and then their approach and what they've done and their type works better. It's that simple.
Yeah. And, it's like I said before, a different staff member is going to pick up on different things. They're going to influence the behavior in a different way. And that's why you need that collaborative approach okay, what are the indicators that you see for a behavior compared to someone else? Well, if there's some crossover there, then you can say potentially that might be across the board. These are the indicators.
Yeah.
However, someone's going to pick up and go, well, actually, I see this. Someone else is going to say, well, I see that.
Yeah.
All of that should go in a behavior support plan. It's not a matter of let's disregard half of it. Put it all in.
It can be quite a lot as a behavior practitioner and as a support worker with some of the things that we see. Is that what pushed you and compelled you forward to do a lot of the self-care part of your business and what you're delivering?
Yeah, so part of it was that, but also what I had to go through when I started.
Yeah.
With really looking after my own mental health. But a few years ago, I was working with a participant who, I'm a social worker, and the support coordinator knew that.
Yep.
And she's gone, oh, can you just come in and do some self-care training and some end-of-life training
Oh,
with the support workers?
yeah.
Because, this guy was late stages of multiple sclerosis.
Yep.
He literally couldn't lift a finger. Everything was done for him.
Yep.
And I said, that's fine, but has anybody spoken to him about grief and loss?
Yep. Yep.
And they're like, no, why would we do that? In the space of less than 12 months, he's gone from, working in the mines, working full time, owned his own house, driving his own car. He's lost all that ability. He's lost what society sees as the male role of going to work and earning the income. He's lost all that. And now he's literally got everything done for him. But no one spoke to him about the grief and loss that he experienced. The focus was the grief and loss that the support workers were going to go through down the road once he passed away.
You're right. There's been so many times that I've had people leave hospital and they haven't been able to grieve the fact that they've got a disability. Beforehand, they've had they've had a normal life, had a stroke, and now they can't use their limbs or they can't do what they needed to do. All their family unit around them haven't had that chance because it just feels like life had a massive car crash and they're just, days from the car crash and trying to put it all together what my new life looks like. Did they end up having the conversation? Did you end up having the conversation of what it would look like?
I didn't. I did recommend that they went and found someone who did that. And the reason I didn't have that myself was because for me, that was too close to my past.
Yeah.
And what I experienced as a kid. I didn't want to blur boundaries. I didn't want to emotionally compromise myself in that situation. So I recommended they went and found someone who was able to have that conversation with him. But I did a very quick self-care training for the support workers on how to look after themselves now, not in 6 months' time, but how to do it now. And that sat with me. I think that maybe took me 2 hours to put together, really low quality. And I went, well, there's a need for it. Why can't I build on that? And I was sitting in the hospital with my youngest daughter on one of her many visits. And I went, the nurses don't have anything. And I spoke to the nurses. The nurses in hospitals do not have self-care training. No ICU nurses, no ER doctors or nurses. None of them have self-care training. They might as part of their degree, but in the real world, there's nothing.
So I'm not meant to light a candle and have a bath and just get on with it? It's self-care training looks really different, doesn't it? Like how you promote self-care. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, self-care is different for everyone. What works for you may not work for me. And that's fine. We're all individual humans. It's around finding what works for us, but also to what nourishes us rather than takes energy away. Some people are introverts, some people are extroverts, and there's some people are called ambiverts where you sit in the middle and you fluctuate between the two. So it's all around finding what works for you in some situations that may not work in others and may not work in 6 months' time, but they work now. So it's around having a list of strategies and going, okay, this is what works for me at some point. I'll have that in my toolbox so that if I need to go back to that toolbox, I can pull it out and go, let's use this strategy.
Yeah. How do you find them, to be put into your self-care toolbox? If I look at social media, if I look at that's why I joked with you about having a candle in a bath and we'll just get on with it. Or you hear that thing, if I just have a stiff drink, that will be enough. But those things, sometimes they just feel like a mask
Band-Aid?
to dealing with an actual bigger problem.
Yeah. It's like using a Band-Aid for a gunshot wound. It's, a cover-up. It's not doing the job.
So,
but then also too, you've got, if you look online on, if you Google self-care things, guaranteed the first 3 links that are going to come up, here's the 12 self-care products you need. It's all around what can we sell you to do self-care. The best self-care you can do is put some shoes on and go for a walk around the block for 20 minutes. You don't need these latest creams and potions and candles and bath bombs, and just work out what works for you and do that.
People talk about self-care and practicing it. Is there like a timeline how often you should practice self-care, or should self-care, you should do it daily, you should do it every 10 minutes a day in the morning while the sun's rising or setting? Is there a particular way it should look like, or does it change and move according to the person?
What works for you? When can you fit self-care in? And it's not just a matter of, I can only do self-care in the morning. Can you do micro self-care throughout the day? You go and make yourself a cup of coffee. The kettle's boiling. Can you do 2 minutes of deep breathing while the kettle boils? Can you do a 5 senses activity? 5 things you can hear, 4 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch, 1 thing you can taste. What can you see around you that can bring you back from the computer screen, bring you to the here and now? Can you go and put your feet in the dirt outside and do some grounding activities? It doesn't have to be this 2-hour block of it, because, in those situations where stress is coming up, I haven't got 2 hours to do self-care. I've got to go and do this thing. The first thing that gets dropped is self-care, where if we can break self-care up into micro steps throughout the day, they're going to have a bigger impact than not doing self-care at all.
Because I think about it at periods of time where you put a lot of energy into self-care, sometimes it only goes so far. Is there a moment or a point where somebody should seek alternatively and then, speak up and say, I'm doing self-care, it's just not working for me?
Yeah, everyone needs help, and that's why I've got self-care coaching that I do. It's, can you reach out to someone who is removed from that situation and go, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? I've got a free self-care assessment on my website where you can download it, go through the assessment and go, okay, there's 7 pillars to self-care. But right now, my physical self-care needs some work. And you work this out through the assessment. You go, it's a rating scale of the 7 pillars. You go, okay, physical self-care is a bit low. What can I do? And this is why with the courses that I've got, everybody gets a copy of the assessment and a copy of an ebook that I wrote. So you do the course, you read the ebook, you put some strategies in place for the next 2-3 months, whatever. You then do that assessment again and go, okay, physical self-care has come up. Now my spiritual self-care is a bit low. And when people think spiritual, you think, oh, religious or going to church. But that may not be the case. It could be going for a bushwalk and having that nature, spiritual lifting that way. It could be doing meditation. It doesn't have to be going to church. If that's what works for you, then great, do that. But for some people, it could be doing meditation.
With self-care, I find in our sector for women, we talk about it with, amongst women really well. But when it comes to self-care in our sector for men, is it harder to get men involved in self-care and talk about it in a way that, is approachable and okay to talk about it in an environment, being a support worker or being a behaviour practitioner, even in the NDIS space itself?
A little bit, yeah. So, it comes back to, people talk about how men don't open up, men don't talk about their feelings. Well, we do, just not in the same way that women do. We may, grunt and groan and hold things to ourselves, but if we are open to other forms of communication and the body language that we're talking about before, we're communicating, just not verbally. It's the same thing with a participant. There is communication. It may not be verbal. It's the flick of the eyes that something's not right. It's, the naughty sign before the behavior of concern. There's communication, just not verbal.
The way that we anticipated it.
Yeah. So I used to, years ago, we had a participant who was non-verbal, and we used to go to watch the horse racing, and he would pick a horse. We'd write the numbers on a bit of paper, put them on his tray in front of him, and he'd look in that direction. Okay. We'd shuffle him around. He'd look in that direction. Okay. So we'd move those ones aside, and you leave him with, 5 or 6 choices, line them up, and he'd look at them, and then he'd lean towards the one he was choosing. So you shuffle him around again, and he's leaning towards that number. We'll move those aside and leave him with 2 options. He would then pick a horse out of 10, 12 horses that were racing. It's around finding different ways to communicate. It's not that he can't communicate, it's he communicates differently.
So what got you into coaching self-care in this sector? Like, what was the moment that you're like, oh, you know what? We need a little bit more here, because we do see some really traumatic things.
We do, yeah.
Was there a moment?
So part of that was, there was some feedback that I received said, what else can I do? I've done the course, I've read the book, but what other strategies have you got? What can I try? And it was, there is an unlimited number of strategies you can do for self-care. It's just a matter of finding what works for you in that moment. And that's, like I said before, having that toolbox of what has worked along the way. So it's not completely disregard that strategy. It's like with a behavior support plan. You should have a number of strategies for each behavior. What works today may not work tomorrow, but don't disregard it.
Is it easy to put the toolbox together?
It can be, but then also too, part of it is it's self-work, working on yourself. How can I reflect on what's worked in the past. I've got a self-care journal, which you can just take as surface level, or you can go as deep as you want with it. The deeper you go, the harder it is, but it's also the more beneficial it is. And that's where the strategies can come from. What can I do in this situation? Do I just, had a bad day? It's like, I was listening to the radio a few weeks ago, and the DJ was going, "Oh, men and women journal differently." Men go, "Oh, I've got nothing to write about. I went to the shops. I, bought this. I did, things I did." Where women tend to journal how they felt or what they thought. And, one of the easiest prompts you can start with is 3 things that you're grateful for. Just that. And it can be as simple as, I woke up, the sun's shining, and, my kids are smiling at me. 3 things. But then tomorrow you go, okay, well, I mentioned those 3 things yesterday. Today, I had dinner. The way I see it is, what we're going through is meant to test us, but also there are people that are worse off. And if you
Yeah.
can go, I went to work today, that's something to be thankful for. I have a job. I was able to drive the car to get to work. Hang on, I have a car. These are the things to be grateful for. And the more you do it, the better you become at it and the easier it becomes. And I think that's the same with, everything for men as well. Just starting with that simple prompt for journaling can go really deep in the next 6 weeks, from very surface level to now very deep in such a short space.
With journaling, it doesn't have to, like, you don't have to do it every day, or if you miss one, it's okay. You can journal periods of your time and just stop suddenly because you
Yeah.
are where you're meant to be.
Yeah. But also too, it's not just journaling as in today. It's journaling for the last week. What have I done over the last week that's moved the needle to get to where I want to be? It could be, the last week has been really hectic. You haven't had that time to sit down. Okay, so what stopped that? And you journal about it. What have been the barriers to stop me from doing self-care for the week? And then you go, okay, but if this barrier comes up again, I know I can do the micro self-care throughout the day, rather than this big block of self-care at the end of the day, and split the self-care up throughout the day. Okay, but for me, breathing strategies work well, but I don't have the time to go for a 20-minute walk. So don't go
Yeah.
for a walk. Do some body weight squats in the kitchen while the kettle boils. You're already doing these things. How can you habit stack so that you're already doing something, but you're doing some self-care on top? You're brushing your teeth. You're doing 20 squats. You're building in the physical self-care in through what you're already doing, but then also,
Is it through your website that people can connect with you? Was it through Instagram? Is it through TikTok? Are you a LinkedIner? What is the best way to get to your course and get to you?
I'm on everything: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere.
Is
Yeah.
the course in, like, video form, or is it written?
Yeah, so on the website, I've got 2 courses. One is specifically targeted to Year 12 students. I put out a video about 12 months ago, was talking about how, young support workers can learn from older support workers in terms of how things are done, or that work ethic we were talking about before. But then the older generation can learn from the new generation because they're more in tune with doing self-care already. So the older generation can learn self-care, and it becomes that collaborative teamwork approach. And I looked at the statistics of that video, and like 75% of it was 13 to 18-year-olds. And I went, okay, that's interesting. What's the most stressful time during that age group, Year 12? So I've done a course for Year 12 students to help them manage that stress of age. It's like a half-hour course. It works through breathing exercises, how to communicate with mum that something's not right, but also communication cues for the parents to go, if I see this behavior, I know something's not right. I need to step in and, model appropriate behavior, or, distract, or whatever it needs to happen. There's reading suggestions, like books for parents to read. There's nutrition guidelines. It's all built into that course. I've then got an introductory level course that's more for adults, people who don't know what self-care is, or they've heard it online, or where can I go to learn the basics of self-care? And that's all online through a video series. It's self-paced.
Yeah. And you can come back at any point to watch it if you needed to
I think
rewatch
so.
it?
I think so. But part of that course too is you get a copy of the book, you get a copy of the journal and the self-care assessment. So you can come back to those resources if you need it.
Yep. And you put a lot of content up for free on your YouTube channel to
Yeah.
talk to
Yeah.
people about what you do and why you do it. Why do you put content out for free?
Part of it is it wasn't available when I needed it. So it's, giving back. If you need this when you need it, it's there. But if you want to share it with someone else as well, it's a bit hard to share a book or something that you got to pay for. If it's a free resource, it's easily, I'll share a link, send it off.
Do you enjoy making the content on YouTube and the series you're podcasting? You enjoy that?
I do now. When I first started, I hadn't done it before. I had been a guest on a few podcasts. I started off, I think my first podcast was about 3 minutes long. Not sure what to do, what to talk about, nervous. The longer I went on, the more I did it, the more comfortable I've become with it. And I've tried to extend the length of podcast as well.
Have you starting to get noticed for the work that you're doing?
I think so. My audience is growing. I think I'm up to about 1,300 connections on LinkedIn. The numbers are growing, but for me, it's not about the numbers. It's about if I can help one person, then that's my job done.
It's such a sector that needs it. Like there's a lot in it. When you care and provide care for people, there is a lot. And we at times see things that are quite traumatic that we don't always talk about at the time or 6 months later when it really hits us that, there is a problem. There is something I need to talk about or I need to, dive in a bit deeper into self-care because I need some help at this period of time and it's okay to ask for it.
Yeah. If you look at the average turnover rate in Australia, it's around 12 to 14%. The turnover rate
For what?
like across the industry, across Australia,
Oh, yeah.
is around 12 to 14%. The turnover rate for support workers is 28%.
Wonder why.
Who knows?
Well, you and I can really share a list of why we think that, but it is because I call it when you're a support worker, it's kind of like you're in the movie theater, you've got the front row seat to somebody else's
Yeah.
life, and you
Yeah.
have to support, guide, and nurture that. And at times when we're supporting, guiding, and nurturing somebody that we provide care for, it can be quite overwhelming and we see things, we hear things, and it doesn't always sit well. And we're trying to express it in a way that is to best support this person. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's one of the hardest jobs I've ever had.
And that's not just in the NDIS world. I've got a friend who is a caseworker for DCJ in child protection. She's in a team of 10. About a month ago, 7 of that team were on stress leave or sick leave. So you've got 3 people doing the job of 10, which has a massive effect on the team. On those 3 people, their stress levels have gone up. The pressure on them has gone up. Chances are they'll be on stress leave in 2 weeks' time as well.
Yeah.
It's the sector. It's not just the disability world.
Yeah. Do you do company workshops as well?
Yeah. So literally 12 hours ago, I launched a corporate wellbeing program. And the idea is it's a 2-year intensive program. There's different levels of what's needed for the service. It could be monthly videos that are around 45 minutes to 60 minutes long. So that's tier 1. Tier 2 is 3 hours every quarter. And tier 3 is 3 hours every quarter. But also the managers and leadership team get a specific training as well. And with tiers 2 and 3, at the end of the 2-year program, you get a playbook of like a company playbook of these are the strategies that we've worked through. These are the supports that have been said that support workers or all staff need. Everything goes into that playbook. So that if something goes wrong, the managers can just open up and go, okay, this is what we do in this situation. It's like having a behavior support plan, but the behaviors are stress leave and burnout and increased sick leave. That's the behavior instead of the physical or emotional behavior.
Congratulations on opening this up. I haven't heard of this being done. How did you come up with this concept?
It's only new. I've only been working on it for the last 2.5 weeks. Lots of late nights. For me, it's do as I say, not as I do, because I generally stay awake until midnight, 1 a.m. But I was talking to a friend about 2.5 weeks ago, and he suggested, that I should be further along in the business journey from where I am. I've only been going for 3 years, and it was only through talking with him for, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I went, okay, I need to go and make that change. And there are other people out there who do similar, but there's enough people out there that everyone needs help. So that we're not fighting for companies. It's, who do you want to work with?
I I understand because I'm somebody that super focuses on things at periods of time
Yeah,
to pull it all out. So I get it because it's kind of like a season, isn't it? Like a season of, when I, right, Sarah, I've got an idea. Let's go with it. Let's go to town and then give it all my all. And then you can like kind of have a moment where you sit back and do some self care and, have your breather to go around for the next round.
yeah, yep.
Now, I reckon I have got all of the amazing things that you're doing at current. Is there anything that I'm missing or we haven't spoken about?
The other thing we haven't spoken about is um, the like, I guess we kind of had like there's blogs and stuff that I put on the website, but it's
How often do you update the blogs?
twice a week, Mondays and Fridays. So generally, I'll pick a theme for the week, and everything for that week is centered around that theme. So, this week it's the cost of not engaging in a wellbeing program. For say, for example, a staff member goes on stress leave, well, you've got to, they leave the company. The cost of that person leaving is anywhere between 1 to 2.5 times their income. But then also too, you've got a potential drop in revenue because one client only wants to work with them. They've left. So that client goes elsewhere. You've got a drop in the non-monetary things as well, like the culture shifts. Other people start to feel the stress. They
Yeah.
then start hanging, should I be looking somewhere else? You've then got support workers or staff that aren't engaged in their work. You've got a drop in everything where if we can bring in these workshops, can we reduce stress leave? Can we reduce burnout? Can we reduce staff absenteeism?
Yes. And then talk about it in an open environment that's safe to. And talk
Yeah.
about, yeah, I'm not feeling so great and I just need a moment because sometimes I just needed a moment, like just to
Mm.
go to the storage cupboard, ah, and then come back out again and compose myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. 100%
Yeah.
do.
But it's also important that it's not, that's just for support workers. No, it's for everyone. The CEO is
Yep.
going to be feeling stress.
Yep.
So they need to be part of these programs as well. But also too, in the bigger companies or in all companies,
Yep.
culture needs to shift. And that comes from the top. Yes, it comes from the bottom, but also from the top. So when
Yep.
you've got
Lead
a
by example.
CEO, yeah. So when you've got a CEO who's sending emails at midnight, you've got, hang on, but you're not looking after yourself too. So then the expectation is that I don't have to look after myself. So then you've got everybody who's not maintaining boundaries in time in terms of work or, working outside of business hours or doing extra work you're not being paid for. It's increasing stress. But if everyone stops doing that and just that can wait till tomorrow, then these negative indicators are going to start coming down. People are going to want to come to work and be engaged at work and do better outputs. And, you might start to notice these little indicators of behaviors more because hang on, I'm not so on edge.
The happier the support worker, the better the outcomes for the people that we
Yeah.
serve. They get more, it is a much lovelier, more vibrant workplace to work with.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen it as well in that support workers are generally used as pawns. You know,
Yeah.
the number of times where I've had to call, a couple of years ago, I was doing a support worker shift. It was one of my last ones. I was in a hotel with a young kid who had been removed by DCJ, two staff to one 13-year-old. I dislocated my knee and tore ligaments out of my knee, almost needed a knee reconstruction. The other support worker stepped up, redirected him to the bath because he was very high autism, redirected him. I had to call my own ambulance from the floor. I then had to call on call because it was long weekend, like Easter weekend. I then
No,
got abused. I then got abused by on call for making them do work that they were already being paid for. Why are we treating support
I
workers like
shouldn't laugh.
pawns?
I'm not surprised by any of this. Like, I know we shouldn't laugh and I shouldn't, I'm sorry, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, I get it.
But everybody has these stories. But, you've worked in the industry for 6 months. You've still got stories that you shouldn't be having. That's when company culture needs to change.
Yeah,
And that's why I've got these programs.
100%. Thank you so much for developing these programs in mind for everybody to do and, to practice and practice consistently.
No worries. Thank you.
Well, it's so good having you on tonight. I'm so glad that we finally got to dance.
We did.
Thank you so much for being a guest. I can't wait to put this episode out and show people. Thank you so much, Brett.
No worries. Thank you.
Stay on.
Mm-hmm.